What do you think? Good. Good morning, everybody. It's Wednesday morning, October 3rd, 2018, and we're headed into work and school for the day. And Grant, got any words of wisdom?
Pizza dogs.
Pizza dogs. That might become a thing. Maybe we should do that. What did we do last night? What did we play in the backyard?
Soccer, I won.
We played soccer. What did we ride on?
Our bikes.
Our bikes. And what did you ride on by yourself after the bikes?
My big wheel.
Your big wheel we did. And then what did we do afterwards? Starts with an L. Legos. We almost finished building
our big boat.
Big boat, yeah, it's a big boat.
Are you going to finish it or?
No, I'm gonna wait for you. I'll wait for you. Okay?
Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Wow, what is this truck for?
Peanuts.
I don't know. So we had a good day yesterday. We played soccer. We basically played with a little bit of everything. And it was even bath night last night too. So we got a lot done. And tonight Grant has a baseball game. And then Saturday Grant has his last game.
Why didn't we go to baseball practice?
Why didn't we?
Yeah.
Oh, because we had to get some stuff done around the house. We got to do all that other stuff. We wouldn't have time to do any of that if we went to practice.
I kind of went to my mom, then she could have brought me.
She could have brought you?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I don't know if they had practice yesterday, but it was okay, bud, because you only got 2 more games left, all right? You got to play with some of your new toys for your from your birthday too yesterday. 'Cause you're gonna be by your mom's for 5 days. All right, so let's get this day started. Here, sun is shining. It's supposed to be a warm day. Grant's wearing shorts, short sleeves, and Grant, look at that sky up there. It looks like somebody took a knife and cut a slit in the clouds, and there's like sunlight coming through that opening. See it?
It kind of does.
Oh, the sky's already changed before we could get into better view. You can kind of still see it a little bit, way over those trees, but we're not driving past those trees up there. It's pretty cool though. All right, guys, so we just had a talk with Grant, we being his mom and I. Grant had an incident yesterday at school where he was talking about the middle finger and the Chinese middle finger. So I guess he was saying something like he held up his pinky or whatever, and they were talking about it. So him and another kid, and they ended up getting in trouble over it. The teacher pulled him out and had a talk with him. She said that Grant was very honest and innocent, and apparently they didn't really know what they were talking about or what it meant or anything. So literally sounded like 2 7-year-olds trying to compare notes as to what the middle finger is or meant or whatever. So let me see, get the little dirt dust on the lens here. Maybe that's better. But they are going to have to talk to the principal today at some point. They did not get a detention and all this shit. So kind of very interesting. But so today's a transition day where he goes over by his mom's. So this morning, his mom and I both had a talk with him, and we kind of explained to him, he can't be talking and doing stuff like that. And I explained it to him in a way that maybe he'll understand. So, for Halloween, Grant wants to be a Navy SEAL. And I said this to him, Grant, you know how you want to be a Navy SEAL for Halloween? He's like, what? I'm like, an Army guy. He's like, oh yeah. I'm like, well, when Army guys are fighting out in the field, they don't talk to each other. They use their hands and do signals and stuff to talk to each other without having to use words. And I said different hand signals mean different things without actually saying the words. So, what I did was I pulled up a picture of Grant last night. We were building Legos, and he I was going to take a picture of his Legos, and he jumped in the picture, and he gave like a peace sign. And so I asked him first, I said, you know, what does this mean? And he's like, capiche? I'm like, well, it means okay. And and then I asked him, you know, like, what does this mean? And I showed him the picture of him, and he's like, I don't know, like, okay. And I'm like, well, it means peace. He's like, okay. I'm like, so there's other hand signals. And so his mom straight out asked him, she's like, what does the middle finger mean? And he's like, I don't know. And she's like, well, it's not anything good, so don't be using it. And I told him, I said, don't be, you know, talking about it at school. Don't be teaching other kids about it. Don't be showing anyone anything, all that type of stuff. So I was talking and teaching him about this stuff. So, you know, it's there, he's at that age. You know, I know I had a lot worse incidents than him in preschool and stuff about different things and swearing and all that. So, but we had that talk, and it was all good. So he was crying, and he was all upset, and because we first asked him, like, all right, tell us what happened at school yesterday, and he didn't want to say anything. So I had to kind of walk him through that. So that's that. We'll see. But he does still have to talk with the principal. So his mom said, you know, just have a talk with your principal, be honest with her, and tell her kind of what you told us, and, you know, everything should be all right. And we said, you're not in trouble now, but if it happens again, you're definitely going to get in trouble. He said, okay. So, what else is going on? So last night, you know, I was going through all of his stuff in his book bag and all that, and making sure he did his laundry and stuff. And Grandpa looked at his homework. Did I just say laundry? I meant homework. So Grandpa looked at his homework and said, Grant, I can't even read that, like what he wrote. He's like, you're gonna have to come up here and redo that. And I'm like, oh, well, hold on, Grandpa. Let me double check this. So I look at it. I couldn't read it. I could only read like the first and last words of a sentence. So I was like, all right, Grandpa, let me see if Grant can read it. If Grant can read what he wrote, then it's probably okay. So I brought his homework down to him, and I said, all right, Grant, what does this sentence say that you wrote? And he said something like, the car was real fast, or something like that. And I could kind of see it once he said it. I'm like, okay. They're teaching the kids how to spell everything phonetically, which creates a lot of other intrinsic problems, but that's neither here nor there for now. So I bring it back up to Grandpa, and I actually read it. So I read the page, because there was a couple blank lines that he hadn't filled out. So it said, write down the name of your character and the title of your book and all this stuff. So I'm like, all right, what do you want your character name to be? And he's like, Tom. So he writes down Tom. So I read it closer, and it says, write a character from the book in your binder. So I opened up the book that he had in his binder, and it just says that there wasn't anybody in the binder with the name Tom. There was, it was like a guy driving a car with the kids in the car, and it literally was just Dad was the name. So I told him, like, all right, well, you can't use Tom. There's no Tom. So I showed him a couple pages of the book. I'm like, what name do you see? And he's like, oh, it says Dad. I'm like, yes. So he erases Tom, writes Dad, and then he wrote the name of the book. The book was called Uh-Oh. He wrote the name of the book on the sheet as well. So then, wow, this is like an old school garbage truck. You don't see them like that anymore. They're all specialized and different shit. That's cool. So, so I bring it back up to Grandpa, and I show I point to each word and read what each word is to Grandpa, and Grandpa looks at me, and he's just like, really? I'm like, that's how they're doing it. He's like, okay. So then Grant was also supposed to draw a picture. And my dad's like, is there a car? Because it was something about driving a car. The car is fast. He's like, is there even a car in the picture? And I was like, well, I don't see a car, but let me look here. So I open up that book again, and there was a picture in the book of the dad driving a car with a kid in the backseat. It was like a side view of a car. And then they were driving, and there was a sign with like an arrow, and it's a detour with like an arrow. And in Grant's picture, he had two stick figures, a garbage can with like a line drawn over it all, and then that arrow. So I like look closer, and I'm like, oh shit, it was a picture of the two people in a car from the side, and what looked like a garbage can, that was actually the front grill of the car. So he did do it. He did a good job. It's just, if you didn't know what it was, you didn't know what you're looking at, so to speak. So it was interesting. So I showed it to my dad, and he was like, wow, yeah, that looks exactly like the picture, I guess. So, and because Grant drew two like full stick figures with legs and feet, but in the picture it was just like the upper bodies, because that's all you could see through the car windows. But Grant drew two people, a car, and then that sign with the arrow. And it was pretty cool, man. It was. So I'm proud of him. It's tough. This stage is tough because you can't, it's not very intuitive for me. I don't know. So we were talking for a while about this phonetically spelled words and all that type of stuff. And, you know, last night I kind of had a thought, and I was like telling my dad, I was like, you know, I wonder if they're moving more towards this way of teaching grammar and spelling and all that because of a lot of other cultures and people, influx of immigrants or whatever you want to call it, that have hit the U.S. So like English is not an easy language to learn, from everything I've heard and all that. Like, it's not intuitive. You know, there'll be like 3 different ways to spell the same word, but grammar wise they all have different meanings, like there, and there, and there. And so I'm wondering if, you know, this is for more towards the kids that maybe don't speak English natively. This allows them to be able to write and convey more or less what they're trying to say or communicate, without it having to be absolutely perfect and all that. So it was just a thought I had. I don't know if that's true or not, but I was just talking with Nikki, and she said that, well, you know, we don't have time as teachers. She's a teacher, by the way. She's a 5th grade teacher, and she's also a reading specialist. But she said that they don't give us enough time to teach these kids how to do that sort of stuff properly. Like, we don't have the time to read and write and all that. She said perfectly. Otherwise, you know, it'd take up the whole day or whatever. And so she's like, we're just working more on being able to communicate, and then over the years they fine-tune that and improve upon that. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm like, so what you're telling me is, it sounds like we're almost now more focused on like math through this Common Core bullshit and all that than reading, writing, arithmetic type stuff, or reading and writing, I should say. And she's like, well, yeah, pretty much. That's kind of the way it's going. Because, you know, I said, all right, so now instead of spending the extra time on learning how to write properly or cursive or all this stuff, it's, you know, we're spending all this extra time on math to teach them more convoluted ways of adding and doing all these math problems. And, you know, having to show your work, you know, that takes like a full page for like adding 2 numbers together. It's like ridiculous. And she's like, yeah. She's like, I say this every day, and it's like a thing or a problem or whatever. So, yeah, it's just, here we go, man. This is, we're getting into the belly of the beast in terms of school and stuff. So, you know, as I get older, I kind of am going to think I'm probably going to regret Grant not being in like a private school or something like that. As weird as that sounds. But I don't know. These are like some hard decisions that you have to do and make as a family together, and we're not a family. His mom and I are no longer together, so being able to it's gonna be too hard. All the good private schools are way east. I work. We're not together, so it's not like she could get him or he could ride the bus to one house. Private schools don't even have buses typically, I think. They just, well, they may. Anyway, Yeah. All right, guys. So today is October 3rd, and check this out. So this has been in the news and everything. I even got an email from Grant's school about it. But today it says Integrated Public Alert and Warning System Nationwide Test October 3rd. It says there will be a nationwide test of the Integrated Public Alert and Warning System called iPause beginning at 1:18 p.m. on October 3rd. The Federal Emergency Management Agency, I believe that's FEMA, in coordination with the FCC, will conduct a nationwide test of iPause and its emergency alert system and wireless emergency alerts. This test message will be sent to cell phones that are connected to wireless providers participating in WEA, which is wireless emergency alerts. Learning time will likely be disrupted, so national school safety partners, including the U.S. Department of Education's Office of Safe and Healthy Students, highly encourage districts to use this time to provide a teachable moment about emergency preparedness. So basically, they have a system in place here in the United States for cell phones for weather alerts, like really bad weather alerts. Let's say like tornado warnings or something. I'm guessing other regions would have hurricane notifications, stuff like that. We don't get those sorts of messages here in Chicagoland. But they want to have a means or a method of notifying the populace that there's an emergency or a problem or something. So I'm not quite sure what this entails, but this is a big deal. This has never been done before. So October 3rd, 2018, nationwide emergency alert system going live. So this will be the first test at 1:18 p.m. Alright, so I don't know if you guys can see that on there, but it's about 1:15. This nationwide alert is supposed to go through at 1:18 p.m. today. It's Wednesday, October 3rd. So I'm just working on my, I don't know what this is called, journal, notebook, whatever. And making it look like an arrow is going through all of these pages if you had them all lined up. And just working on darkening this up a little bit. But yeah, so we're gonna kind of just wait and see what happens with this alert thing. I don't even know. Presidential alert. This is a test of the National Wireless Emergency System. No action is needed. Wow. October, and it is right at 1:18. Presidential alert. This is a test of the National Wireless Emergency Alert System. No action is needed.